passion is for amateur, obsession is for winner.
You need to be obsessed. Obsession is something that drives you every single minute of your day. If you want to follow your obsession, you want to do things that challenge the way you think, the way your team operates, the way you look at problems. The moment you have to think about innovation, because innovation is a survival skill. We innovated as humans to be able to evolve.
Mohamed,
Hi, Elena.
how's it going?
Amazing. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. I'm so happy we're able to do this in person. I absolutely excited for this. It's been 4 years, I think, right before we started recording, 4 years since I saw you last.
Absolutely.
But I've known you for 7 to 8 years, I think now.
True.
So throughout our friendship so far, I have learned and uncovered different layers of you. And I feel like now with Obsession, you have taken it to the next level. So Fill me in. What have you been up to lately? Give me a little bit of a background story and why Obsession? Tell me more about it.
Well, Obsession. So the whole idea is I woke up one day and said, I want to do something completely different in my life. And you know me, you know that I'm always thinking about what's missing, what else, what next. And I saw a great opportunity in the market filling the innovation gap. And this is how Obsession came to be. It's we wanted to set up the first pure innovation consultancy in the region, and people used, people used to call me obsessed. So I use the whole energy of obsession as a way of life, as who I am. And this is how we actually came up with this whole idea. We saw that there is a huge potential of building something really different, really radical. So we always call it's innovation and moonshot. Mm-hmm. So I want to think about the impossible, things that are a bit challenging, things that people feel like it doesn't work. This is not how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it. And so Obsession came as this representation of how I think and how I dream about business life. It's a whole brain experience. So it has the creative side, but also it's based on a lot of analytics, a lot of data, a lot of strategic thinking as well.
Mm. You mentioned moonshot. What is moonshot?
So moonshot is a very interesting term because it's aiming for the moon, not settling for what we know. So the term comes from when JFK said we're going to put a man on the moon in the next decade. At that time, they didn't have the means to do that. So he started backtracking the goal. And that's technically how the whole term came to be and start being used as a strategic goal for businesses. And so we said, okay, how do we do that? How do we actually build moonshots? And now, if you look all over the world, you have some big brands, big businesses building moonshot projects. One of my favorite is what Calico from Alphabet are doing. They actually have this moonshot project to reverse death. They asked this question saying, what if death was a problem rather than an end? What happens? So this is how you start building moonshots. You come up with existential questions and you start finding the path and the way to be able to solve these problems. So to do that, you start saying, okay, what are the main causes for death? One of the main causes is aging. So what if we reverse aging? And that's a moonshot thinking. This is the mindset of building moonshot projects. I think what Elon Musk is doing also with SpaceX is a moonshot project. He wants to move us to Mars. By itself, this is a big thing. It's a radical thing. It's a transformational thing. So it's about coming up with an idea that's very bold, very ambitious, but also transformational, that changes the way we work and we live. And I love this because if you take a drive on Sheikh Zayed, look around, or you listen to any of the leaders in this part of the world, you understand we live in the region where it's all about moonshots. This is what we do here. We think about big things. No one would have imagined that UAE in 50 years can become that advanced or that developed. It's the moonshot thinking of the leaders or the moonshot thinking of the people living here. We always think about things that seems impossible and we start executing and we start making it happen. So moonshot experts are people who have the right mindset to think about the impossible and backtrack the process or the way to make it happen.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned about Dubai because having lived in Dubai for 8 years and then having been back in the States now for a few years and just coming back here, you feel that energy here. And I completely agree. Like the moonshot, that you almost feel that obsession from a lot of people here versus
Absolutely.
like anywhere in the world. So there's that, collective energy, so to say. And you mentioned about being obsessed, and I do remember that because you and I had several conversations because we tend to like operate in the same level where we're just on all the time. And I get this as well from people. It's like, you're doing too much, or this is not possible, or what would you do with that, or why are you doing this, and so on. And I want to talk about the word you chose for your company because I think it's really interesting because you said passion is for amateur, obsession is for winners.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, there is this statement that you have to follow your passion when you want to when you want to build your own business. And for me, passion is for the weekend. Passion projects are things that you usually talk about, but you never do. They're in the drawer. They're babs. They're things that you do really when you have your free time, and that's not what we want to build. Obsession is something that drives you every single minute of your day. It's something that makes you feel like I have to do that. It's not a choice. When you see someone, they tell you this is a passion project, they're doing it, but they're afraid of failure. Obsession is the opposite. Obsession is, I don't care about failure. I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to push myself to do it. So this is why we always say passion is for amateurs. I mean, if you're an amateur, use passion. I'm passionate about painting, so I do one painting per week. I'm passionate about, I don't know, sports, so I go to the gym 3 times a week. But if you're obsessed, it becomes who you are. And so for me, that's exactly what we want to do. So because I believe we are professionals in what we do, we want obsession to drive us, not the passion of what we like. So this is my statement. My executive manager decided to use this on our website, saying this is our philosophy, this is who we are. So let's put it out there. And I think this is also our conversations with anyone, that if you want to do a passion project, probably we're not the right partners. If you want to follow your obsession, you want to do things that challenge the way you think, the way your team operates, the way you look at problems, you need to be obsessed. And if you look around, really most, if not all the successful people in the world, they were obsessed. They weren't passionate about it. I mean, Steve Jobs wasn't passionate about coming up with new ideas. Elon Musk is not passionate about building SpaceX and Tesla. Then it's not a side thing. It's a core thing. And that's technically why we believe passion is for amateurs, obsession is for winners.
I love that. But I'm also thinking in this world today, at least in the US, and I see this quite a bit in the GCC as well, this whole thing of balance and, and the Gen Zs, which I appreciate them very much because they're kind of, making us rethink the way that we work. And something you also mentioned in one of your posts on LinkedIn. And again, like, we both agree on this concept of kind of being average, right? And inspiring others. And you said something like inspiring those that are actually built for it, to see what's truly possible. And so who are the people that are built for it? And how do you respond to people that are listening to this and are like, listen, Mohamed, like you can be obsessed, but I also need
my
balance.
time. I need balance. I think that's a very interesting question because honestly, I personally hate balance. And I've heard it. We had a conversation with a friend of mine a few days ago, and he was like, my ultimate goal is to achieve balance. And you think about it, balance is mediocre. Balance is average. If you want to achieve anything in your life, you need to be extreme. If you think about balance as the way to be, don't expect big things. Expect to be in the middle and embrace it, because probably this is where you belong. And when we say, you see it a lot, I mean, we communicate this message a lot. Obsession is not for everyone. Winning is not for everyone. And these people, they are extreme. They are looking at things with intensity. So balance is a way to accept failure. It makes you feel it's fine if I didn't achieve this. It's okay if I didn't look at the details. It's okay to be okay. It's okay to be in the middle. And this is where you started seeing in the States, for example, participation trophy. It's okay to be like anyone else. This is wrong, in my opinion. It's wrong because it's going to limit our evolution. We have to be obsessed. We have to understand that really winning and greatness doesn't come from balance. You want a day off, you can take a day off, but that's not how you're going to achieve whatever you want to achieve. It doesn't work like that. Look, I mean, I'm inspired by, let's say, my ultimate idol is Kobe Bryant. Remember, we talk about this. For me, Kobe is beyond basketball. It's a mentality. When you think about the way these great athletes were able to achieve their success, what they did is they made their obsession their fuel, their everything. They weren't looking for balance. They weren't looking to actually play to play. They were playing to win. And most people, actually a big majority of people we meet and we know, when they tell you don't do that much, it's because they're talking about their own limitations, not your own possibilities and your own potential. So people always are afraid to achieve whatever they can achieve because they know they cannot. So they use the words like, I want balance, I want, my weekend, my mental health. It's important to have it, but it depends also on what you want to achieve. If you want greatness, you have to put on the effort, you have to put on the passion, you have to put on the obsession, and it needs to become your driver. It needs to become everything that makes you who you are. So I don't like the word balance at all. I don't like the fact that people are using it as an excuse to do the average. And I don't like mediocrity. I mean, I believe we are there is a war between what we want to build at Obsession and mediocrity and mediocre people and mediocre thinkers, because these people, they're going to bring the whole community back. And we always say, Obsession is not for everyone. Again, innovation is not for everyone. Greatness is not for everyone. So when you understand this, you work on creating your own segmentation, and you work with people who are like-minded. They have the same drive, the same obsession to actually push things to the extreme.
Tim Ferriss said something. So Tim Ferriss is, podcaster, author, etc. Like for people who are listening who don't know him, so brilliant guy. And I love what he said related to this topic. Was most people set average goals, so the competition is very fierce, for most people. But if you actually set those moonshot goals, if you become obsessed, if you're just operating at a different level, there's not that much competition on that level.
Absolutely.
And he said that's why it feels like there's so much competition at that mediocre level, because there is. But it's actually less competition up top because most people will not have that thinking. And it's totally spot on.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, when it comes to building your team, I recently posted something from Cody Sanchez. So what she said was, Cody says she buys and sells businesses and etc. So she mentioned something around that when she interviews people, and the minute they ask about balance or working hours or something like this, she's like, that's a red flag, and it's just not, that's not who she's going to hire. And I mean, she got destroyed in the comments. And when I posted a comment about that, I got destroyed in the comments about that, because I think there's that push. When you hire people, when you think about bringing the best on board, how do you, or people that you partner with, how do you choose that?
We have the non-negotiables. They need to be obsessed as well. They need to feel like they can also walk the talk, because, especially in this part of the world, you see a lot of people talking about who they are, but when you put them under test or you put them in action, the output is mediocre at best. So what I try to look for is the same non-negotiable I have for myself. Understanding that obsession is not an option. It's who you are, and I need to see the fire in your eyes. So you're right. If you ask a question, what are my working hours? So we take 2 days off. I understand those are important. And honestly, I don't care if you work from 9 to 5 or you work from 11 to 12. It's up to you. And obsession is, what is the challenge I'm going to take? I would love to have someone, and I had someone recently saying, you know what is the challenge I'm going to help you solve? These kind of question tells me that this person is cut for this. And that's one. Two, is people who understand that excellence is a standard. Okay, it's not like it's fine, it's okay, and you see that from the kind of questions, and you see that from the kind of narratives they tell you about how they achieved excellence in their lives. And I make sure to actually find people with an edge, unconventional people. So I remember in my old role, I used to hire people after I asked them, I call it a weird question. So tell me something weird about you. And it was always a controversial question, because you have this person who's super, super smart on paper, and you ask them, tell me something weird about you. Tell me something that makes you really stand out, something that no one else can own, because your weirdness is personal. And for me, this question was always about understanding the hidden clues of how you look at the world, because that's what makes you a successful person. So this weirdness, this edge, and now I ask them, tell me your obsession. I want to know your own obsession. I mean, what are the things that, if you put money on the side, what are the things that you would love to do every single day with the same hunger? So these kind of questions for me are very important to understand that this person belongs to obsession or belongs to be part of my team. Because all the others, if they're looking for a job, and if, I mean, it was a bit controversial saying it, but I understand how people would react. But if you want a 9-to-5 job, McDonald's have great opportunities. And this is where you can actually operate. But if you want to become the best, you have to understand that it's who you are. You're going to invest your time, your sweat, your tears, your nights, and you have the ability to build great things in your life. I have a nice story here that I had a couple of peoples, and one of the old people that still works with me till date, I had her when she was 20, 22, 23. And I remember she used to come to the office, and I used to be more intense when I was younger. I think I'm a bit calmer now. And I used to give like harsh feedbacks on certain things. She used to go cry in the toilet. And she told me this after like 10 years. And I felt bad, like it's not a nice thing. She said, you know what? You taught me not to settle for what I thought it's good, while I could do better and could do more. And these are the people that I want them part of my team. They're people that they believe they're willing to take the risk and the heat to become better. Because if you're always asking your boss to clap for you, you're going to become average. You're going to be part of the participation game. Okay, I'm playing to play. If you're actually looking at someone who can push you, you need to understand that it's going to be a bit of attention and intense relationship between the vision behind the business and your ability to perform. Because you're not going to get it if you're going to be, again, average and looking for balance.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there, and I try to, and I like to talk to you about these topics. I'm like, what is really going on? Like, is it the same here? Is it okay to be average, or is it, and it's not. And I know
it's becoming okay.
It's becoming okay, but and I just wonder, is it like people like us who are just crazy that we're so intense, or are we the crazy? Are we the not normal ones? Are we the
misfits?
The misfits, right? Because there's so much out there, and to your point, like to reach the moonshot, like you have to be obsessed, you have to be intense. There's just no way around it. I have not seen anybody who's able to do it like just casually, kind of, going through life. So speaking of moonshots, it requires a certain level of innovation. And you do a lot of kind of research with your company around innovation, in particular topics that are very relevant to the UAE, to particular UAE and Saudi, for example. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about kind of the future of mobility. Let's go into that. And how do you see that unfold in the region?
I mean, the way I would look at it is what we're trying to do when it comes to moonshots is look at industries that are existential. Okay, we ask this question to the whole team. We have a big board of experts at Obsession. We said, what are the industries that are going to be critical for our future? So mobility is one of them. Healthcare is another one. We talk, of course, technology, AI, hospitality, things that are they're there. They make who we are as a humanity. And we started asking, and I insist on the word because I love it. And I believe it's a big difference between average people and obsessed like us is we're asking existential questions. So when we think about the word of mobility, we think about the future of how we're going to live. It's an existential question. And we were just saying, traffic now, coming here, traffic is bad. So this is something that we've been talking about this for the past 50 years, 100 years probably. You still have traffic, roads. When we talk about mobility, we talk about how people are going to meet each other, how they're going to move from one space to another, from one place to another. We're going to talk about where do I live now? So because there is a path that I need to take to reach my home. So all these things are going to define the world we live in. And when we start looking at it, so what we did with one of our experts is we actually looked at trends that are shaping cities using mobility as the main idea. He's a mobility expert. Please download the white paper. It's very interesting to look at it, to see what are the top trends in terms of automation, in terms of electricization, all these things that are going to become critical for us in the way we use our cars, we rent our cars. We're moving from buying my car to subscribing to a car. So this is a business model change. But it means that I don't need a parking in my building anymore. It means the way we're going to build buildings is going to change as well. So there are a lot of small things that are going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years that's going to shape the whole city infrastructure as well. And that's what we have to think of because we are built for a completely different age. Now the future of the world is going to change, especially with everything that's happening with AI now. And for me, that's a big part of what we're focusing on at Obsession. We need to start thinking about the future of jobs and life because we live and we work. What does it mean? I mean, if you think, again, healthcare, we're still going to get sick. So how are we going to look at future studies in healthcare, the way research is being done for the future diseases? I mean, I gave you the whole, and I'm really obsessed with what Calico is doing with this whole reversing death, because for me, it's an existential question. The same question that we were saying for mobility or for healthcare, it's an existential one. It tells you what would happen if I change something that is so radical about our life, and we start looking at the impact of this change on a humanity level, not on a small level. Because at the end of the day, most people now are worried about, I need my salary at the end of the month, so I need to do what's expected from me, while the speed of change is happening so fast and so radical. We're going to wake up one day and we don't have actual jobs like the way we have now. And people forget, and this is something that we're going to release also, a new paper about the impact of AI on our life. We're going to realize that this is the first revolution in the world that's targeting cognitive skills. It's targeting white collars rather than blue collars. The first revolution, the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolutions, even the internet boom that we had in the 2000s were things that were mostly changing or automating processes. Now it's more about thinking. It's about us. We were called the skilled labor. We were paid to think, to analyze. Now you have a machine taking this big radical role, which means the whole world is going to change because I don't need an office anymore. I can work from my home now. We're here in this studio. It's a complete different infrastructure. You needed to have a studio outside of the home, so you needed to drive. So you build a completely different map for the city. So all these things for us are existential, and they're part of what we try to discuss every single day among each other and with our clients.
It's funny when you're talking about jobs and kind of becoming irrelevant for a lot of industries, because I forgot who said it, but when AI started coming out, we said, we're going to, AI is going to be great because it's going to be able to do all these things for us, and like do laundry and do like other things, like
I've
technology,
seen
right?
that,
Well, I
yeah.
forgot the who said it, or what, but instead, actually, AI is doing our job so we can do the laundry.
And that's scary because I believe when we think about AI, we think about it again from as a tool. So and I think this is it's a big problem because it's how you look at businesses. They start with the tool, not with the mindset. If you change the way you look at AI from a tool perspective to a mindset change, you know that the transformation that's going to happen is going to be radical. Now, if I saw this meme, which is very valid, and I will have more time because it means I will have time that I need to fill. How am I going to fill that? Okay, so what are the stuff that I'm going to spend my time doing if an AI agent is going to do it? Now, we're very happy with ChatGPT 4.0 and 4.0, 4.01 and stuff like that are still Gen AI. And generative AI is still a conversational AI. But I'm more aware of the next phase, and I'm more afraid of the next phase when you start having agents and you start having artificial general AI, and when you reach a point of singularity and you start becoming obsolete as a human and as a skilled labor. And put this on the side and think about another moonshot that for me is going to become way more scarier for us as a humanity, is Neuralink, with what Elon Musk is working on. Yeah. For me, Neuralink is where we need to be thinking now as the biggest disruption for our biological beings. And this, if it happens, and now we know that they moved into human testing, it's also going to create this whole separation between people who can afford the implants and people who cannot afford the implants. And this is also going to be a completely different world that we're going to live in, because we're going to have a completely different experience for the physical AI that's going to be implanted inside of us.
It is scary for me. I'm excited about the future with AI, but I'm also nervous to your point, because it's going to create a societal divide that I don't think we have yet to see, and on a completely different level. And as you mentioned before, when it comes to innovation and things like, you have to have space to think about that. When you're worried about paying your bills, supporting your family, whether you're working for a company or not, it's very hard to think about anything beyond, I need to survive today and I need to make money today. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, when it comes to innovation and evolving as an individual, there's so many people that are left behind. And that's the scary part, because that goes back to like, how are governments and systems and the systems that we have in the world, how are they going to adjust? Because if they don't adjust, we're going to have huge societal problems.
Sure. But, I agree with this point, but still, I believe if you are living on the edge, or you are living in the middle, and if you think about survival, this is the exact moment you have to think about innovation, because innovation is a survival skill, and we always say it is a survival skill. It's not a nice to have. We innovated as humans to be able to evolve. We were always looking, and let me give you our own definition of innovation. So we believe that innovation is something new that people need that can create value. Okay, it's this trinity of understanding that I'm going to bring something new to the table, something that probably a new way of doing something, a new business model, a new idea, a new product, but it needs to be needed on a social level, on a emotional level, on a functional level. And at the same time, it needs to create an impact. It needs to be commercially viable, economically viable. It has socially viable. So when we look at innovation, it's not going to be a nice to have. So if you are doing the bare minimum and you're struggling to survive, you have to ask yourself different questions and start saying, okay, what should I do to change, to improve the way I'm doing it, which is incremental innovation. So if you are an employee, if I want to bring it down to this level, not on a corporate level, if you're an employee saying, okay, I'm trying to survive with my own salary, let me try to understand how do I increase my salary. This is an incremental innovation model. You start saying, okay, maybe if I put on more times or I automate so I have more time to do other stuff. So you start asking yourself, you start with yourself, things that can help you achieve incremental growth. Or you start saying, okay, let me understand my own business model. Okay, maybe the way I'm doing it is wrong. Maybe I need to do it faster. Maybe I need to do it differently. So you change the business model, the operating model. Or you look at, let me disrupt it completely. If I'm surviving in what I'm doing and there is no end game for me, or there is no light at the end of this tunnel to really achieve stability or growth, let me change, let me disrupt it. Let me start from scratch. Let me follow something else. This is complete disruption. There is a high risk here, but also versus the high risk, you have high return. So this is, for me, the way we look at it. We always look at working in something that is going to help us achieve survival as an excuse rather than an opportunity to survive, because I always say innovation is a survival skill. If you really understand the power of innovation as a mindset first, then as a system, then as your ability to achieve it, you know that it's going to become a big part of your success.
Yeah, I think mindset is probably like that's innovation's mindset as well. Like that's, it's like it's survival, but ultimately it's mindset. And I love that. You've written something I read recently, and it says we're more influenced by our past decision than we care to admit. And I think in order for you to think innovatively, you have to almost let go of who you were.
Absolutely.
And the way you used to think, and start asking different kind of questions. That's what I love. It's like, what haven't I tried? Like, what else is possible?
What else? Absolutely.
But that's a mindset. That's
Yeah.
a truly a mindset. And I think, at least like in some of the work that I do, there's so much limitation in individuals today, in corporates and like some of the bigger names, even in leadership, that we're so stuck on doing things the way we used to do. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, at least right now, is just like, it's the mindset. It's the ability to ask the right questions.
Absolutely.
Continuously.
Absolutely. I mean, we created this formula to try to define innovation mindset for us. And we always say, innovation mindset, or the mindset aspect, happens from three key fundamental ideas. Knowledge, you definitely need to have a lot of knowledge. The more you gather knowledge, the better you are able to have innovation, or you can change your mindset. Knowledge will create a attraction for your mindset. To curiosity, this is something that asking a lot of questions, it's going to be critical for you to be able to achieve this mindset, because if I don't know something, I need to ask about it. And I always say, ask a lot of questions. Ask, what else can I do? Our own slogan is what else, what next? These are the curious questions that we keep asking about every single problem that we face. And the third part and the third fundamental idea within our innovation mindset is ignorance. And people, they need to, it might be a bit philosophical, but I believe ignorance is very important. Knowing what you don't know, or acknowledging what you don't know, is very important. So, I always say this thing, I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, which is, again, philosophical, but it is ignorance. Understanding that I don't know everything. I'm ignorant in, let's say, this part of the challenge. So I will need to bring in Elena, who's an expert in this, and let me listen to her. Let me see her perspective, because I will learn. I will bring in my own perspective to the challenge, to the problem, to be able to solve it. But I am ignorant. I need to acknowledge this, so I'm able to get the right people to help me solve it. And we do this innovation exercise I love a lot. And I think we've done it where have coffee with people not like you. And I love this. I would always do that when I take a taxi, for example, in Uber. Like, I'll sit in the car and I will start a conversation with the driver and ask them about a business problem that there's no way I can solve or I'm thinking of. And I'll tell them, in my place, what would you do? Or you would do that with the waiter, or you do that with a doctor. And you start seeing it from different angles. So I started this coffee with people not like me, where I actually insisted on having coffee with people that are outside of my focus and talk to them about things that are outside of their focus to see how would they tackle this challenge. This is acknowledging my ignorance, that even if I know something, there's something else I don't know that someone else might actually help me understand better.
I'm going to start doing that. That's a great tip. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually present like business challenges, and maybe they'll give you something, maybe they won't, but it's going to be a good experience. But it also requires a certain level of vulnerability, which a lot of leadership struggles with, because it's admitting that I don't know. And the whole idea of being up top is you have to seem powerful. You have to seem in control.
Absolutely.
So how, when you work with companies, like how open they are, how close they're, like what do you see?
So it goes back on the personality of the leader, and you're absolutely right. And I always say there is a thin line between ego and arrogance. So if you're an arrogant leader, you will never take the chance to be seen as a weak leader. So you won't experiment. You think about today. You think about, we see what happened with Nike, for example, now with the new CEO. He was a numbers guy. He was looking at things today. So this is, for me, a big thing that it's the majority of leaders now. Then you have the ego part, this person who's obsessed, where he's thinking about, okay, what do I want to achieve? And this person, most of the times, I find these people, these profiles, these archetypes, more willing to experiment, more willing to take a risk, more willing to say, you know what, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if it works. And when we look at our conversations with leaders, we see that most leaders will ask you about return on doing something new. And the great ones will ask you, what is the cost of not doing it? And that's a mindset shift. So we always tell our partners, you know what is your CONI? What is the cost of not innovating? And it is a mindset, because if you think about what would be my return, you think about how would I look in front of my team if it doesn't succeed, it doesn't work. So you think about more the status. This person who is asking, what is the cost of not doing it, is thinking about, what is the opportunity I'm missing here? What can I do to make sure I get the edge, I get the advantage against anyone else? So again, it's a mindset thing. And I believe, unfortunately, a big majority of people are not cut for this. And this is why we say obsession is not for everyone. Growth, success, radical transformation is not for everyone. You have one Elon Musk, you have one Steve Jobs, you have 10, 15, 100 leaders that are cut for greatness, and you have a million others that are playing to play and thinking about the incremental rather than the radical.
You mentioned Neuralink, and that's going to be like a big disruptor. Are there anything else, like maybe in healthcare or mobility, that you see like the big things that might be coming?
So I think definitely AI is going to accelerate everything. And when I think about healthcare, I believe with what, again, the Calico work is a healthcare disruption, because it's not only solving the aging part. During this process, they're solving other problems as well. They're uncovering other truth about us as humans, and they are able to solve it and disrupt the way we live. In mobility, precisely, I believe the biggest challenge is the role of the car. Okay, so I think the role of transportation and how this is happening. I mean, look at Dubai. Dubai, you have one main road and everything is built around it. You won't see the same thing, for example, in Rome, or you won't see the same thing if you go to Paris, where you have the arrondissement, so you have multiple. So how do you design cities in the future is going to change, and I believe this is going to be accelerated with new algorithm that's going to help us uncover ideal ways of designing cities, designing smart cities, or solving and coming up with new medicine and new treatments for preventive medicines and preventive treatments for humans.
It's interesting. I was at the doctor's maybe a couple months ago, just regular like annual checkup, and and usually the doctor, they take notes and etc. But this time she was like, do you mind if the AI does the summary in the notes for us? And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what are we doing? And it was really, I felt a little bit of invasion into my privacy almost. And it was a little bit awkward, but that's just a 0.001% taste of what that's going to look like. So obviously, like in actual hands-on medicine, like there's a lot of like surgical innovation, stuff like that. But even in the client, like the patient interaction, I think is going to significantly just transform. And I don't know how, again, it's very exciting, but it's like also there's a lot of gray area around privacy and data and like, you know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest, we have to understand there is nothing called privacy in the future. That's one. I remember there is a nice statement by Andy Warhol. In the future, everyone wants to be famous for 15 minutes. And I read that somewhere that in the future, everyone wants to be anonymous for 15 minutes. And I think that's also something fundamental in us, in our future life, that we have to understand that nothing's going to be private anymore. That's one. Two, we have to look at AI as a partner in life and partner in innovation. We're working on this education project now, and we're asking existential questions about schools and the concept of a school. And we're looking at AI as a partner for the teacher to help students achieve better and faster results or better and faster knowledge. But the question is, what kind of knowledge? Because look at the AI, look at this doctor, for example, that you went to. Now she will be able to analyze any kind of data 100 times faster, if not 1,000 times faster. And this is not something feasible for human. So AI will help us also uncover patterns that it's going to be super hard for us as a human to know that. So there is definitely a lot of good potential, good opportunities with AI. The scary part is we're creating something that we cannot control. And because we cannot control, we cannot understand its impact. And if we don't understand its impact, we have to understand that the impact is not going to be an individual impact. It's going to be a societal impact, a humanity impact. It's going to change us as a human because this, and I'm very fascinated with the work of Yuval Harari, for example. And now you read about it, like we are in this hybrid phase of humanity where we're still coexisting with technology. But if the tech is going to, and we reach this point of singularity, we're going to become the race that is, let's say, less in terms of power, thinking, abilities, and we won't have a reason to exist anymore. So for me, it is an existential thing, and I believe we have to be super careful about it. We're not going to be super careful. It's going to make money.
No, we're not. We're reactive. We don't think through as humans. We're just executing and hoping for the best, and usually ends up with a mess. Is there anything else on this topic, particularly in the work that you're doing, that you we haven't talked about, but you feel is really important to mention here today?
I mean, we're doing some interesting stuff. Again, asking questions about fundamental industries. I'm very fascinated with the work we're doing on the education part. And I believe I want to extend this question to everyone. What is the future of schools? What is the future of a school as a concept? What is the future of students and parents and the relationship between the main stakeholders in the learning experience? Because now for me, that's, especially as a father, I mean, I have two daughters, twins, 4 years old, and they go to school, but I look at them and understand that whatever they're learning now, it's going to be irrelevant in the next 3 years, not 5 years, if not 2 years, if not 1 year. So I'm very obsessed with understanding the future of education, because this will also be a reflection of the future society that we're going to live in.
Every time I talk to you, I'm inspired, I'm excited, slightly nervous, and scared for the future. But nonetheless, you always put things in perspective for me, like making me feel at ease that I'm not the only crazy person out there who's obsessed with the things that I'm doing. And yeah, you inspire me every time. So thank you.
Thank you.